Livewire, so incredibly great.
Oh, thank you.
I felt like I was just sitting with you, and honey, you were.
Well, you would get it because you're a working woman.
I'm a working woman, and I've chatted with you, but I also watch the show, and I'm sure so many people, as they come up to you and clearly tell you, they know you because they watch you on television.
Yeah,
I
mean, it's a privilege. I mean, like, not to be one of these people that go, as I said in the book.
Right.
But I talk about how much the audience and I have been there for each other. It's a privilege of doing this job where you get to be in the homes of people every day, and it's a constant. And so it's a constant, even though our show is very irreverent, there's a certain reverence in knowing that people are still, all of these years later, I've been doing it for 23 years, still inviting me in. With my kid brother, the boy wonder.
Now, here are Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest.
You are very open about your auditions, negotiations for live in this book. You say that seniority was used a lot, and as it turns out, seniority is a masculine word.
Now, here are Regis Philbin and Kelly Ripa.
This many years into the game here at Live, has that game changed? Have you seen that trend change?
I don't necessarily know if I've seen it change. I think it definitely is more amplified because I amplify it a lot, and we work in a household of a lot of women, and the more women that come in, the more equalizing it can be. But I do think that seniority is something that is typically only thought of as masculine, but we as women need to get behind each other. And by that I mean it starts with getting behind yourself. You can't get behind your sisters if you can't get behind yourself. And that is something that I seek to do, because it really is like a love letter to women. It's a love letter to people in the workplace who may have felt marginalized in some way.
Viewers have assumed and wondered behind the scenes what your relationship was like with Regis.
You held my hand and you said, "Look, sweetheart, all these people are here to see you." And that was like so nice to put me at ease that he told me they were here to see me.
How would you describe how your relationship was like with Regis?
I had and still have enormous respect, admiration, and reverence for Regis. I, like most of the viewing public, felt like I knew him. But to expect two people from such different generations to have some sort of weird forced friendship when they never knew each other is a very strange thing to put on one person. And it was only put on one person. And that is how I describe it. We had a very professional working relationship. That used to be a celebrated thing. But in this weird gonzo tabloidy, let's pit the man against the woman world that we live in, somehow that was it was strange, and I was vilified. And so that's why I address it in the book. We had a professional working relationship, and that's what we had, and that's okay, because we are from different generations, we have different friend groups, and we had different professional backgrounds. You know, it took me 5 years to learn to look into the camera, because I was trained to never break the fourth wall.
You were coming from the
I'm coming
world,
from the acting world. And so there is no class for this. They didn't teach me how to do this. You learn on the job. We all learned on the job. Everybody here that works in this building can tell you, you learn on the fly.
Absolutely. And to also learn in the book that you had social anxiety and
I still
fear of
do.
public speaking. I'm like, what? How is this girl? I don't get it.
It's all about knowing who you are and what your weak points are, you know. But every day I'm positive I'll turn my fear of public speaking around.
Kelly, you're an open book on the show, but this goes even a step further. It's not like you're just documenting in your own personal journal. This is a published memoir, a book of essays. So why the book of essays? Why now?
Well, you know, I thought like a fool and an imbecile, and I keep saying this, that if the gyms were open during the pandemic, this book would not exist. So don't blame me, blame the gyms. But I started recounting moments of my life that were meant to be funny and humorous and all of that, and 99% of the book is. Some of it is gritty and you know, more on the serious side. But I think that I thought a book of essays would be easier, and it turns out I was wrong. I was incorrect. It would have been easier to write a memoir, but I don't feel that I'm at the memoir phase of my life. I feel like I have other things I want to do. There are other things I want to achieve. This seemed like just funny stories that people could digest easily, individually, and there's a little something for everyone.
Without a doubt. Speaking of funny, how about the very intimate story you tell of passing out during having sex with Mark?
Well, it's more of a story about how hard intimacy can be for women, particularly after they've had a baby.
Exactly.
And I am no different. That was hard for me. It was very, very difficult. And really what it portrays is, and rightly so, that my husband in that time, and he was, keeping in mind, he was 27 years old. He's a 27-year-old kid that knew exactly almost what to do and gave me the support I needed before there was language that, there was no language about supporting postnatal women and what their bodies may be going through and things they may not have even thought of.
Right.
And it really is more, I mean, I think of like most of this book as a love letter to Mark. And that's why I dedicated the book to him, because he really has walked through, you know, most of my adult life with me.
I feel like you're getting emotional. Just
no,
even
I mean,
how
he
can you
really,
not?
he is such a good, he's a great husband. He's a great father. He's a great guy, but he's a great friend. That's the greatest thing. He is a friend. And if you have him as a friend, you've hit the jackpot.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's been the key to your relationship, the friendship between the two? Because you even say in here that couples like you and Mark usually do not work out. They don't make it.
No, I mean, I don't think either one of us thought we would make it.
Yeah, because you went off to Vegas, you eloped.
We were 25 years old.
Yeah.
We eloped. We have a 25-year-old. If he ran off to Vegas and eloped, we would punish him. We would lock him in his old bedroom.
You would come to Vegas and you would find him.
Right, we would find him and lock him in his old room.
Oh my God.
But, you know, it's one of those things that on paper, should not have worked out. We should not have worked out, but something about the two of us, and I think that it's our mutual respect, we have mutual admiration, and we don't compete with each other. We don't have egos where the other person is concerned. We are like, we have each other's backs. And that's a unique thing, I think, in this industry and, you know, in a business of what we do. We just like really are always there for each other.
Absolutely, and especially when you both are juggling so much and you take readers there in Fool Me Once, Fool Me Twice. You talk about juggling All My Children and your live auditions. And you're also pregnant, I mean, and you're newly married. I mean, there are just so many layers to this.
Yeah, I think that people get confused, and I've been asked this 1,000 times. Why don't you act anymore? Why don't you do this anymore? Why aren't you doing that? You need to leave that place. You need to go off and do this. And I always say, I've made a choice because everything exists because of this job. Now, I'm not saying I exist because of this job, because I had a job. You know, I was an actor. I made a choice in my life to experience the exhilarating, fun, crackly, effervescent, but not easy. Sometimes when things look easy, they're actually quite difficult. And staying nimble and staying engaged for decades is no easy feat. And it's something that women in particular don't get credit for, ever. And so that's why I wrote that chapter, and that's why I talked about it.
You are a completely open book when it comes to cosmetic surgery and tabloids. You talk about Botox, you talk about plastic surgery procedures, and the tabloids just really having their fun with you whenever you were first coming onto the scene here at Live.
I was 30 years old and they were talking about why I looked youthful. And I was like, can't it just be because I'm 30 years old?
I am young.
And so when I started reading about all of these cosmetic procedures that I was allegedly having done, I was kind of insulted and mad, and then you get riveted.
Yeah.
You know, particularly the boob
Right.
jobs
Oh,
that are
what went
constantly.
wrong? Like, that was a headline.
What went wrong? I was like, did I miss my appointment for them? Is that what went wrong? But it was like endless, exhausting,
Yeah.
kind of boring. Then it became dumb, and then it stopped, and then I was like, I need Botox for reals, because as long as they were writing about it, I had to look pretty good, right?
I guess.
That was my mentality. My mentality was like, I must not need it if they think I'm getting it. I must not need anything if they
But
think
even
I'm
the
getting
fact that you have to think about these things that are being written about you, they're clearly not true. What has given you this tough, thick skin?
Oh, I don't have a thick skin, and I'm not tough. No, I've just like put it where it belongs, like in the bottom of the bird feeder cage. You know what I mean? It's like, that's where it belongs. That's not smart journalism. It's not interesting. It's not creative. It's not original. And so that's why I write about it in the detail with which I write about it. I also drag the viewer, the reader back in time, because there was no social media. There were no ways to address these things on your own.
Right.
You had to either bring it up and elevate it or swallow it. And I always chose to swallow it.
Because otherwise you make it even larger.
Otherwise you make it larger, you help them sell their rags for them. And I was like, more of like, don't give a fire oxygen.
Amen.
But, you know, I just like to reference points in time throughout the years and how things like sometimes when left unchecked can become facts, works of facts instead of works of fiction.
You were open about the neck surgery.
Yeah.
Was there any aspect of you that was hesitant about touching upon that procedure?
No, none.
No.
And I'll tell
Why
you
did you
why.
want to share it?
Because I think that, again, I'll do the double standard again. Men get praised for talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And women get mercifully torn apart for it. And so they don't talk about it. And so therefore, all women think they're the only woman. I thought I was the only woman aging. I thought I was the only woman in the history of show business to age.
Yeah.
And it's funny, once you start talking about it openly, then everybody around you starts talking about it openly. And you realize that you're late to the game. At least I realized I was late to the game. And I did not know that. You know, I just thought I was the only one.
Kelly, you are pure perfection, and so is this book.
Oh,
and I can't
no.
wait for number 2. I need more
never.
essays.
No.
Yeah.
As I wrote in the book, if I try to do this again, somebody has to suffocate me with a pillow.